Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Thursday, the 27th of August. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day. I'm Pauline Verzosa and welcome to Morning Matters.
First in the news, Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero has barred senator, judges, prosecutors, Vice President Sara Duterte, their lawyers, and witnesses from publicly discussing the merits of the impeachment case. Escudero says the rule also covers sharing, endorsing, or amplifying public comments about the pending trial. He also urged both sides to appoint spokespersons who are not part of their active legal teams. The ruling came after the defense flagged a social media post by prosecution lawyer Amando Ligutan. The impeachment court is now hearing Article 1, which deals with the alleged misuse of confidential funds by the OVP and the Department of Education.
Know who you are, and based on the records, we know who you are. Just turning it into a circus and weaponize the media to substitute public outrage for actual evidence.
All right, so as expected, the Senate Impeachment Court has ruled on the issue of sub judice.
Inaabangan talaga
Inabangan
natin yan.
talaga natin yan kahapon. And of course, he emphasized the importance of, following the Rule 18, which bars nga prosecutors, the defense, and then of course kasama rin si Vice President Sara Duterte to, discuss the merits of the case. And interestingly, while he was reading, while Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero was reading the ruling, ay nag-post si Vice President VP Sara ng something about the impeachment court. So si lead prosecutor Jervy Luistro nag-file ng manifestation and saying parang nagsumbong na while you're reading it, may nag-post, diba, is she covered na ng itong rule na to. So pero sinabi naman ni Senator Cheese Escudero, ang sabi niya prospectivity na lang would apply. Kumbaga dahil I'm still reading the ruling, hindi pa tapos, ano na natin, pang kinabukasan na, 'di ba, kumbaga, yung application nito. Kasi a lot of people are saying, is she covered na ng first warning na ba to? Kasi pag first warning, ang penalty doon ay reprimand, 'di ba? And admonition. Pag second offense ay fine up to 30,000 per violation. And kapag lawyer ka pa, 'di ba? Pwede pa i-take up sa Integrated Bar of the Philippines Supreme Court. Pwede kang mawalan lisensya if you violate this rule.
Oo. And yesterday, because of this ruling, Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero reiterated his suggestion to both the parties na baka gusto nyong palitan na nga yung spokesperson nyo para in case may masabi sila in their public pronouncements, they won't be as careful or they won't have to think about violate ba to, ma-explain talaga nila yung gusto nila. But on the part of the defense, Attorney Michael Poa, sinabi niya talaga na he won't be able to leave the defense team of the Vice President. Even he talked to VP Sara already and sinabi niya, no, I want you to stay on my team. So right now, maghahanap daw sila ng bagong spokesperson for the defense. And even si Deputy Spokesperson, Attorney Golar, who we talked to, na magaling din naman, maayos din naman mag-explain, di ba? But parte din siya ng Defense Council.
That's why hindi na pwede.
So gusto nila daw maghanap ng bagong spokesperson who will also be able to laymanize daw the proceedings dahil napaka-technical.
Hiring sila ngayon.
Apply ka ba?
Nakita ko dun sa... No, I'm good. Nakita ko dun parang sa sa social media, sabi, sinong gusto nyo maging spokesperson ng defense team? Kasi sa PROSEC naman, parang nakita natin, former Congressman Ace Barbers can do the talking.
Marami sila ding
diba? I was wondering lang kung si Congressman Alonto Adyong, part ba siya ng prosecution team? Or kasi nagsalita pa siya after the so I guess
parang hindi.
Hindi, kasi di naman siya lawyer.
Correct. Pati kahit si Congresswoman Rene Co, spokes din siya, diba? Actually, sila yung unang pinangalan na
Hindi ko nga masyado naramdaman na si Congresswoman Rene Co, diba? Nung nagsimula to, diba?
Oo. So, I think, naman sila, okay lang sila doon. Hindi naman sila ma-affect nitong bagong ruling. But ayun na nga, let's see kung magpapalit sila ng mga spokespersons. Pero si Attorney Michael Poa, apparently he will be called as a witness next week.
Yes.
So magiging
Oo.
interesting po yan because as we know, he served as the Undersecretary of
Sa
DepEd
DepEd.
and naging spokesperson din po siya ng
Oo.
DepEd. So he might be able to shed some light kung paano ginastos ng Confi.
O ito na last na bago tayo lumipat doon sa kabilang topic. Of course, hindi pwede natin hindi pag-usapan yung aliases
Oo.
na bring up ni Senator Robin Padilla. Of course, yung sinasabi niya, Marshall Bonifacio. Ganun. Sabi ko, hindi nila binanggit. Meron din mga aliases yung mga dating senator, di ba? During the pork barrel scam.
Ay, oo.
Di ba? Meron si Pogi, si Tanda, at saka si Sexy.
Speaking of, yung isa doon,
Oo,
that's
yan na. Yeah, tama.
correct,
Oo.
di ba? Si Sexy.
Senator Jinggoy, sexy daw.
Paano ba yan? Alright, but in other news, the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology denied reports that detained Senator Jinggoy Estrada slipped while taking a bath. BJMP spokesperson, Jail Senior Superintendent J. Rex Bustinera said Estrada experienced severe knee pain while walking to a scheduled medical appointment. Bustinera added that the senator heard a snap in his knee and Estrada underwent an x-ray and doctors later said he may need surgery to treat a tear in his left knee. Actually, hindi ko alam saan nanggaling yung reports na yun, na he slipped daw while taking a shower. Pero nilinaw naman yan agad ng BJMP, that's not what happened. He snapped his knee, he fell while walking along the hallway outside his cell. Kasi pupunta siya dapat sa Cardinal Santos Medical Center for a medical checkup talaga, which the court granted already. But itong knee problems ni Senator Estrada, this is nothing new. Well, actually, nung nilabas yung kanyang arrest warrant, he was already telling...
Papa-surgery, di ba?
Oo, papa-surgery. Knee replacement surgery pa nga. So he's been complaining about that. Pero mapapaisip ka rin, kasi parang deja vu na naman. Ni-research ko kasi, back in 2001, nung na-arrest si Senator Estrada with his father, then President Erap, may mga health complaints na talaga na binabanggit. And alam naman natin, pati yung mga high-profile personalities, di ba, talagang nagkakasakit bigla. So in 2014, he also complained of shoulder pain and gastrointestinal issues. Hindi naman sa sinasabi natin na hindi totoo yung yung kanyang knee pain. Pero people are also questioning, ginagamit ba to na excuse ng ating mga officials to secure temporary freedom and to avoid yung pagka-detain nga sa regular jail?
Yeah, I agree kasi I would remember it dahil nga parang sinasabi na the many illnesses of Senator Jinggoy Estrada every time meron siyang kaso. And then we're not saying naman na it's, the sickness or the illness is fabricated. It's just that nagkakataon, di ba? And yun nga, sinabi mo, in 2001, nagkaroon siya ng heart problem due to stress, pero hindi siya pinayagan ng magpa-hospital arrest, if I'm not mistaken. Tapos nagkaroon pa siya ng rectal bleeding noon at that time. Oo. Tapos, of course, yung sinabi mo rin kanina, yung sa 2014 shoulder naman. Tapos 2026, eto na. Pero kasi yung daddy niya also had the same problem. Si former President Joseph Estrada, di ba, magka-problema din siya sa tuhod. Ganyan din yung problema niya. And I think because of the weight, di ba may osteoporosis, osteoarthritis. And namamana daw yan, sabi ng mga doktor. Tapos yung sa weight mo pa siguro hindi nakakayanan din ng tuhod. Di ba? So we'll see anong mangyayari. Baka mamaya request din sila ng hospital arrest. We don't know. Pero syempre, sana gumaling siya para ma-serve niya yung...
Maharap niya.
Maharap niya, yung kanyang mga kaso. Yun naman na sinabi niya di ba? Nung first time bago siya makulong, sinabi niya, harapin ko yung kaso.
Pero nagulat ako sa bagong look ni Senator Jinggoy. Parang
Balbasarado.
pareho na sila ni Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. No shave.
The Balbasarado pala effect came from Senator Jinggoy Estrada. Parang sinabi ni Senator Cayetano na nung dinalaw nila, nakita nila,
So na-inspire lang
na-inspire siya. Tapos parang
kay
meron
Senator.
sila, sige, pag nung siya pa dating Senate President, parang sige, pag hindi nakalimutan ko na yung rason hindi ako magpapashave. Biglang nagbago, di ba? Something to that effect. Anyway, Malacanang says the ongoing impeachment trial has further shown what it calls Vice President Sara Duterte's control over the use of confidential funds. Palace Press Officer Pierre Castro made the statement after Duterte said the case against her should be based on evidence, not insults, speculation, or political theatrics. Castro pointed to the testimony of OVP Assistant Chief of Staff Lemuel Ortonio, saying it presented further evidence that Duterte knew about the withdrawal, spending and reporting of the funds. The palace official insisted that what has been presented in the impeachment court is backed by evidence and not mere ad hominem attacks. Castro added that if Duterte does not want to receive insults or speculation, she should also be respectful in her own statements.
So siguro mas maganda sa ating Vice Presidente na aralin niya po lahat para hindi bumalik sa kanya yung mga ibinibintang niya sa administrasyon. Kasi mas mainam na mas malinis po niya at mapatunayan na ang kanyang opisina ay walang ginawang anumang anomalya.
Sabi nga nila sa pambihirang pagkakataon, si Jose Claire Castro ay nag-agree na wag naman daw gamitin yung salitang mastermind, 'di ba, yung architect of the scandal because hindi pa naman talaga napapatunayan. The impeachment court ay still ongoing and then yung mga cases against her ay hindi pa rin naman nadidinig. So sabi niya dapat hindi naman. Pero nga on the other side of the fence dapat ganun din daw si Vice President Sara Duterte because we all know naman the Duterte family are like that eh.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Yung lagi silang may mga pang-attack dun sa mga kaaway nila o hindi nila kasundo. So ano sabi nila? Respect begets respect.
Respect. Hindi, totoo yan
Yeah.
Pero I'm curious, itong sub judice rule, hindi naman covered ang Malacanang, di ba?
Yeah, I think so. I
Jose Claire Castro is free to
Yes.
give her interpretations. Although, syempre kasi yung ibang mga analysts, sinasabi nila, maybe Malacanang shouldn't comment too much on this kasi baka magkaroon ng impression that they have a hand in the outcome or even the proceedings. So, pero technically, pwede naman silang mag-comment.
Yes,
Dahil hindi naman
totoo.
sila prosecutor, respondent, di naman sila part ng defense,
defense,
di sila counsel,
diba?
di sila senator,
Oo,
judge.
Oo. Eh di ba in the first place pa naman, unang-una sinabi na niya na walang handang Malacanang dito, hindi sila wala silang pakialam sa impeachment. Kung tutuusin, sabi nga daw ni President Bongbong Marcos ayaw niya ng impeachment.
Kaya, oo,
So,
at first.
nasa inyo na po yun kung maniniwala po kayo o hindi, di ba? Pero dapat on optics talaga, dapat di na magsalita sila. Or kung magsalita man, yun na nga lang, medyo bantayan na nila yung mga words na binibigay nila.
Actually, from now on, feeling ko lahat talaga mag-iingat eh.
Oo nga eh.
Because of this new sub judice rule. But then there's also a question, are the penalties enough to incentivize yung mga tao? Kasi baka mamaya gawin nila.
30,000 lang
Oo,
naman yan.
30K lang yan.
Yayaman ng mga lawyers.
Baka ano lang yun sa kanila, 1 hour lang yun sa ano nila, di ba?
Pero iniisip ko lang naman kasi tayo, hindi na natin may interview.
Yes!
Like sila Attorney Tolosa,
Correct.
Attorney Terry Ridon, on the side of defense, si Attorney Michael Powa. Sa bagay, di man natin siya talaga i-interview.
Never pa.
Never.
Baka pwede pa tayong makahabol bago siya mapalitan as a spokesperson. Alright, but meanwhile, the Department of Education has launched its Ligtas Plus program to provide clearer and more timely guidance on class suspensions during emergencies. Ligtas Plus is a centralized web-based digital platform where schools can access updates on hazards that may affect classes. Now, these include heavy rains and possible flooding, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and extremely high heat index. For the initiative, DepEd partnered with PAGASA, the University of the Philippines Resilience Institute, and the Office of Civil Defense.
Lahat ng local governments, pwede nilang antabayanan yung datos dito kung nakikita nila yung predicted rainfall is a certain amount. Gabi pa lang, bago mag 10 o'clock, pwede na silang mag-cancel ng eskwela. At saka, once nagawa yun, baka if we can do it even earlier, yung mga learning materials natin, ibibigay na po natin.
At least 160 people were killed after massive flash floods swept through communities in a border area of Nepal and China on Wednesday. Hundreds of tourists, workers, and other residents were also reported missing, while the floods disrupted travel in parts of the region. Experts said an avalanche from a glacier was the likely trigger of the disaster in the warming Himalayan region. Nepalese officials said 403 people, including 341 foreign nationals, remain missing as authorities continued rescue efforts. Ayun. So, this is still a developing story. We have yet to see other details regarding this. Pero yun nga, kasi sa unang basa ko, sabi na 31 missing. And ngayon pala, ang dami na. And if you would see the video, talagang nakakabahala, if you're putting yourself in that position, talagang wala kang magagawa eh.
And what made it so terrifying kasi is nobody saw it coming,
Yeah.
right? The locals didn't even experience any heavy rain. They were going
Yeah.
about their days normally. And then this happened. And for context, the water even reached daw about 100 meters, and that's water and mud. And that's equivalent to 328 feet,
Yan.
which is about the height of a 33-story skyscraper. So imagine this is taller than the Statue of Liberty, taller than the Big Ben in London. And when you mix ito nga water and mud, no, napakalakas ng impact niyan sa mga tao. It's like a solid moving mountain that crushes concrete structures instantly and completely buries everything in its path. So as you can see, these are very devastating images coming from Nepal, in the border of Nepal and China. And our hearts go out to all the victims. Of course, no one wanted this to happen, pero this is a natural disaster din kasi.
Oo. Alright, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Day 19 of the impeachment trial zeroed in on the use of confidential funds, while presiding officer Cheese Escudero tightened rules on public comments about the case. And for the latest from the Senate, we are joined live by mobile journalist Merimon Reyes. Merimon, what stood out from yesterday's hearing?
Pauline, in the testimony, well, now excuse na rin ito muna si Assistant Chief of Staff and Assistant Secretary of the OVP, Lemuel Ortonio. However, based on his testimonies, he said that according to his understanding, very sensitive in nature and confidential yung projects, programs, and activities that has to do with the use of confidential funds. That's why there are certain names that need to be protected, pero he did categorically say na pwede talagang gumamit ng alias, especially doon sa mga resibo. And sinabi niya rin, doon din kasi sa joint circular memo daw ng COA, wala naman kasi explicitly nagsasabing kailangan ng may pangalan talaga o hindi pwedeng gumamit ng aliases. And Ortonio also mentioned that he met with the VPSPG Chief Commander Colonel Raymond Dante Lachica around once or twice. And during that time na nagpasa raw sila ng physical and financial plan noong September 2022, itong si Colonel Lachica mayroon na raw na coordinate na possible agents or informants for the supposed confidential activities. And then, nung na-secure na confidential funds, tsaka lang daw naging selyado na kumbaga yung magiging transaction sa mga ito. That's why he was rectifying na wala raw reimbursements na nangyari. Pero still questionable pa rin dito sa senator judges din sa kanilang pagtatanong, sa clarificatory questions silang and interjections, yung spending ng 125 million pesos in just 11 days at yung hindi pagbusisi ni Ortonio despite his supervisory position sa OVP. Pauline.
Of course, Merimon, we also have to talk about the ruling of presiding officer Cheese Escudero when it comes to the sub judice issue. Can you give us a recap of that? At sino na ba talaga ang covered nitong rule na ito?
Pauline, naging warning siya and a reminder once again na may nag-exist na Rule 18 at sakop nitong sub judice rule na sinasabing bawal magbigay ng komento, remarks, or anything that may have to do doon sa merits of the case, including yung timbang ng evidence, yung witnesses, yung credibility nila, and especially on the part of the senator judges, yung paglin na kung may acquittal ba or conviction na pwedeng mangyari. Lahat ng mga ito dapat ino-observe ng senator judges, ng buong impeachment court, counsels of both the prosecution and the defense, yung ni-impeach. So in this case, si Vice President Sara Duterte, sakop niyan, pati ang kanyang mga counsel na nandoon sa impeachment trial. Hindi nito sakop yung mga outside observers and yung mga spokesperson na hindi nagsisilbi as counsel during the trial. Kaya naging reminder ulit ni Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero, ito yung sinabi ng korte weeks ago na magtalaga na talaga kayo ng hiwalay na spokesperson. And ang nasabi naman na ni Attorney Michael Poe from the defense, urgently naghahanap na sila na magiging tagapagsalita ng depensa. Meanwhile, on the part naman ng prosecution, habang may spokes sila na part ng prosecution panel pero hindi counsel, si Attorney Benjamin Talosa naman din ang nagsasalita for the prosec. Sa impeachment court, Attorney Reggie Tonggol. And then, walang naparusahan kahapon. Clean slate, tabula rasa. Pero from this day on forward, mahigpit na raw na i-enforce itong Rule 18. And ang violations, admonition, reprimanding sa first violation, final warning na raw yon in public court. Second, third, fourth, violations na to, may penalty na natig to 30,000 kung ilang beses mang gagawin yung paglabag. And pwede rin mapagbawalan muna silang mag-appear sa korte. Yung statement ni Vice President Sara Duterte around 10 a.m. kahapon, sakop din daw nitong rule na to. Pero dahil nilabas during the time na nagruruling yung impeachment court, kasama yon sa all are forgiven for now. Pero nire-remind din ng korte si VP Sara through her counsel na obserbahan na itong Rule 18.
Well, Mary Mon, yesterday, senator judges also had the opportunity to give their interjections and to ask questions to the witness and even to the prosecution's lawyer, na si Attorney Divina Gracia. At nag-stand out talaga kahapon sa interjections ay Senator Robin Padilla at Senator Raffy Tulfo. Tell us about their interjections yesterday.
Pauline, yung dito muna kay Senator Raffy Tulfo. Ang question kasi nila dito is bakit hindi alam, hindi binusisi ni Ortonio yung mga resibo, hindi man lang naghanap ng official receipts, kumbaga bakit tinanggap lang daw yung ORs, bakit pinirmahan niya lang basta-basta yung response ng OVP doon sa audit observation memo ng COA na hindi man lang inaalam ano ba talaga raw nangyari doon sa confidential funds. Bakit itong mga informants or agents, ang lalaki, 150,000 pesos, 250,000 pesos, na sila ang bibili daw ng medisina o kaya naman daw ng food aids or other supplies. Ang sinabi kasi dito ni Ortonio, may tiwala rin daw naman siya sa Chief Commander na si Colonel Chica, and by the nature ng activity, sensitive and confidential ito. Pero may ARs naman daw. Pero nasabi ni Senator Raffy, una niyang nasabi, nagmamaang-maangan daw itong si Ortonio. Pumasok ulit dito yung sinabi nila na blind royalty ba, itong gigalaw niya. And then later on, nasabi ni Senator Raffy na nagtatanga-tangahan. So Ortonio took offense doon dahil alam niya naman daw yung trabaho niya, yung ginagawa niya, and pina-reward na lang ni Presiding Officer Cheese. So instead of tanga-tangahan, feign of ignorance na lang ang gagamitin. Doon naman kay Senator Robin Padilla, ang tinanong niya is, ang interjection niya ay para kay Prosecutor Attorney May Divina Gracia, and nakatutok to sa paggamit ng aliases. Pinasok dito na yung mga bayani daw noong kasaysayan dati, may mga alias na ginagamit. So ano raw ang kabuluhan nito? Ang non-issue daw ito, according to Attorney May, kasi una, wala naman sila pinupunto, at si Acosta, Gina Acosta lang naman ang nagsabi na may hindi totoong pangalan doon sa mga resibo. Pero for this one, hindi naman daw kasi established sa impeachment yung paggamit ng alias ng mga panahon dati. Pero dito na pinasok ni Senator Robin na, kilala mo ba si Marshal Bonifacio? Kanino alias to? Kay Ninoy Aquino. And then, since hindi naman siya tanong, hindi na pinasagot pa ng korte itong si Attorney May. Pero si Senator Bam Aquino ang sumunod na nagsalita, and nilinaw niya na oo, may alias itong si Ninoy Aquino, Marshal Bonifacio, na nasa Boston para raw makauwi ng Pilipinas. Pero the difference is wala naman daw confidential funds si Ninoy Aquino. And wala naman daw siya doon sa ARs for confidential funds. Hindi natin nakita yung mukha ni Senator Robin, pero we heard na natawa siya nung nagsalita si Senator Bam.
All right, well, we still have a lot to watch out for in next week's impeachment trial. But for now, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes. In the meantime, the House Appropriations Committee continues its deliberations on the proposed 2027 national budget for various government agencies. And for more details, let's bring in mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, which agencies are scheduled for budget deliberations today?
Yes, Pauline, inaasahan nga natin ang budget deliberation on committee level dito sa House of Representatives para sa apat na mga opisina. No? Una, yung Office of the President ngayong umaga. Alauna ng hapon naman ay para sa Presidential Communications Office. At ngayong araw din ang nakaschedule para sa Department of Interior and Local Government o DILG, maging sa Commission on Higher Education. Mga ahensya ng ating pamahalaan na kasama sa mga tinututukan ng publiko. Para yan sa deliberasyon ng kanilang budget para sa 2027, bahagi ng 7.2 trillion pesos na National Spending Program na isinumite sa Kongreso. No? At Pulina, ang ating aabangan ngayong umaga pa lamang ay yung pag-deliver nga o pagtalakay sa 8.2 billion pesos na budget ng Office of the President, ang hawak ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, kung saan inaasahan natin kung magkakaroon pa rin ba ng parliamentary courtesy na nakagawian na sa mga nagdaan na budget deliberation sa Kamara at kung sino nga ba yung magiging kinatawan ng opisina ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. We will see kung darating ba si Executive Secretary Ralph Recto at sa hapon naman sila Secretary Dave Gomez para nga malaman at mahimay yung kanilang mga budget. Pero Paulina, hindi naging madali itong inaasahan natin na hindi magiging madali itong pagsilip sa budget ng Office of the President dahil mayroon ito na nakalagay na 4.5 billion pesos na earmark confidential and intelligence funds. Ito yung may pinakamalaking halaga ng confidential funds sa ating budget at ang sabi ng mga mambabatas 44.9% daw ng confidential funds ng buong budget ay malalagay nga sa ilalim ng Office of the President. And syempre, kung pinag-uusapan ang impeachment trial patungkol doon sa paggamit ng confidential funds ay dapat daw walang maging safety o parang maging safe sa pagbusisi ng mga budget na ito. Higit lalo na may mga questionable na nangyayari at nakikita sa paggamit ng mga ito.
All right, well, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. And now for the latest on the weather, Pag-asa is monitoring a low-pressure area inside the Philippine Area of Responsibility. It was last spotted 1,030 kilometers east of northern Luzon. Pag-asa said the LPA has a medium chance of developing into a tropical depression within the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon, or the Habagat, will bring occasional rains over Zambales and Occidental Mindoro. Metro Manila and parts of Luzon and western Visayas may also experience scattered rains and thunderstorms. Now don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Good morning, mga kapatid. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Senate impeachment trial tightened its rules on public comment as questions over Vice President Sara Duterte's confidential funds continue. Here's the report.
Impeachment Court Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero is warning against public comments on the merits of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment case. The warning is tied to the sub judice rule. Under the rule, parties are barred from making public comments or expressing opinions on the merits of the case. Escudero says the impeachment court's judgment should not be preempted. He also warned against using the media to sway public opinion toward either side.
You know who you are, and based on the records, we know who you are. Just turning it into a circus and weaponize the media to substitute public outrage for actual evidence.
Escudero cited Vice President Duterte's statement challenging the prosecution to prove its case with evidence, not insults or speculation. Escudero then called out the prosecution's use of words such as scam, mastermind, and modus operandi. Prosecutor Amando Ligutan's Facebook post also came under scrutiny. Ligutan had commented on the issue of misleading questions during the hearing.
Correcting a mistake is never wrong. Doing it while a hearing is ongoing online does not make it not right. Ang pagtatama ng mali ay kailanman hindi ipinagbabawal kahit sa loob ng impeachment court ito. Ang pagtuturo, ang pagtatama ng mali ay walang pinipiling lugar at walang pinipiling panahon. That's why I made that post.
As the impeachment trial continued, hostile witness Lemuel Ortonio faced tough questioning from several senator judges. The hearing again touched on the unusual names of people who allegedly received confidential funds, leading to a debate over the use of aliases. Senator Judge Raffy Tulfo also pressed Ortonio on the use of confidential funds to pay for medicine for informants. But Ortonio repeatedly said he could not answer the question, saying former OVP security officer Raymond Lachica was the one who implemented the confidential activities.
Defies logic, hindi po kapanipaniwala ang mga pinagsasabi mo na para kang, sorry sir, nagtatanga-tangahan. Salamat po sir.
With all due respect, Your Honor, I personally take offense of that comment, sir. I actually just did my duty, sir. At the time, sir, I believe na yun po yung kailangan kong gawin bilang isang empleyado po, sir.
Paano naman po yung mga taong bayan? They're being offended.
Ortonio also said Vice President Duterte bears ultimate responsibility for the confidential funds because she is the head of the OVP.
Being the head of agency, ma'am, I believe that kailangan niyang malaman lahat ng mga nangyayari. And I know, ma'am, na si Ma'am Inday really wants to know details, no, especially on implementation of the different activities that we do in the office.
And based on that knowing, batay sa kaalamang iyon, siya ang pinaka-responsable sa kabuang iyan.
Based on that, ma'am, being the head of agency, ma'am, I would say so, ma'am.
Well, there's a lot to unpack
Yeah.
with what transpired yesterday, no? Because you have the issue of subjudicial ruling. Meron kayong, of course, yung aliases interjection ni Senator Robin Padilla. And you have, of course, the main trial itself, no? Questioning yung mga naging testimony ni OAVP Ortonio.
So marami tayong aabangan. And of course, the question still on a lot of people's minds is tatawagin ba ng prosecution si Colonel Lachica because he also came up again in the testimony of Mr. Ortonio yesterday. Pero narinig naman natin multiple times from the prosecution. Maybe not now.
Risky daw eh, no?
Risky. Hindi nila alam kung anong pwede niyang sabihin. But yesterday, di ba, kausap natin yung guest natin, sinabi ni Attorney Panulong, it would benefit the defense more na sila nalang tatawag kay Colonel Lachica para ma-explain daw niya. But then again, di rin natin alam kung ma-explain ba niya talaga kung paano niya nagamit yung confidential funds.
But as for Colonel Lachica naman, he's ready naman daw anytime na siya ipatawagin sa impeachment court. And the prosecution also on their side, ready din naman daw sila mag-cross-examine. But in the event that both panels didn't invite Lachica, sabi naman ni Senator Chis Escudero yesterday, pag-aralan nila baka pwede nila invite nga ito si Lachica. At ang tawag nila doon, may tawag sila yung Americus, di ba?
Yung
Friend of the court.
Yes.
Na po pwede nilang gawin yun kung meron pa silang gustong liwanagin.
Pero one thing na inaabangan pa natin, yung schedule, parang hindi pa rin nag-decide ang impeachment court if they will move it to the afternoon or not. But for more legal perspectives on the latest developments in Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, we are now joined by Attorney Dino De Leon. Attorney, good morning and welcome back to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Angela, Pauline, and to all our viewers.
Okay, so it was a very eventful hearing yesterday, Attorney, no? And it began with Presiding Officer Chis Escudero giving out his ruling dito sa sub judice issue. What did you make of his ruling? Is it too restrictive or fair naman, kahit papano?
Well, I believe, with all due respect, of course, to the presiding officer, I think that was unduly restrictive and was totally unnecessary. In fact, the jurisprudence that he was citing was strictly judicial in nature and apply in criminal cases. Let's remember that this is an impeachment case, which is sui generis. There is a political side of this, and the people must be involved in the process, which is the reason why, to begin with, this is televised in ordinary court proceedings. As we know, such is not allowed to be televised. But in the reason why impeachment proceedings are supposed to be televised is because the people must be able to access what is happening, but at the same time must also be able to access whatever insights coming from both sides, and from experts. In other words, I thought that the jurisprudence being cited by the presiding officer was not applicable. It applies to criminal cases, and the reason why that is the case is because in criminal cases there is the right to liberty of the person, which is one of the most sacred rights, is going to be compromised in case of failure of the process. But in the case of impeachment, there is no such thing as the right to office of Sara Duterte. Public office is a public trust, and that can only happen if there's going to be strict scrutiny and accountability. So I thought that was unduly restrictive. That's first. But secondly, I thought that the ruling would have been stronger if the presiding officer was also called Sara Duterte as a respondent, because Rule 18 also applies to Sara Duterte. But Sara Duterte has been disparaging the entire impeachment process, has in fact provided comments that are unwarranted and at the same time disrespectful to the Senate as an impeachment court. No? So if he also included Sara Duterte as part of the order, then maybe, just maybe, there's going to be fair play. Because right now, Vice President Sara Duterte can comment all she wants to disparage the impeachment process. And it's as if she was not covered by the order, or at the very least, even if she was not called up for her past actions against.
Right. But yun nga, I remember former Senator Franklin Drilon said that the sub judice rule as applied in the regular courts cannot expand in the impeachment court. So having said that, do you think there's going to be a challenge, or do you see any challenge on communicating with what's going to happen in the trial?
Well, I saw that the defense is already looking for an impeachment spokesperson. I think it was very clear as well in the ruling that they are not prevented from still engaging spokespersons anyway. It's just that I thought that sometimes, let's say for example, in the case of Attorney Degutan, who was part and who made a statement yesterday, I think he should have a free hand also explaining his side and the side of the prosecution before the media. Most specifically, for example, just to cite as an example, supposedly whether leading or misleading questions were allowed. Was Attorney Ferrer really referring to only leading questions, despite the fact that the entire country actually heard what transpired? No, I thought that those kinds of exchanges needed more clarification coming from both sides of the parties. And right now, a lot of people would be hesitant. The lawyers themselves would be hesitant hesitant to actually speak out considering the ruling. No? So I thought it was unduly restrictive. It was unnecessary, and the people anyway can decipher and decide for themselves which pieces of information and which pieces of comments will they actually trust and will they actually admit to judge whether or not the process is fair.
Well, yesterday, Senator Judge Cheese Escudero actually laid down some guidelines, attorney. He said for the purpose of this trial, a statement pertains to the merits when it evaluates a disputed fact, when it talks about the credibility of a witness, the relevance probative value of particular evidence, assessing the legal viability of an article, advocating for a particular disposition, and announcing or forecasting the ultimate vote. So with all that said, I mean, meron pa bang pwedeng pag-usapan ang mga counsels, ang senator judges, or anything about this impeachment trial, or is it best for them to totally not talk to the media anymore at all about this trial?
Yun nga parang unduly gagging the lawyers just because they're participants. Pero if you're participant to the trial of an impeachment case, this is not an ordinary case. This is an impeachment case. Hindi ba dapat nagsasalita ka? Hindi ba dapat ikaw nakakaalam? Hindi ba dapat yung publiko marinig mismo kung ano nangyari batay sa iyong pananaw at ano ang tingin mong dapat mangyari? That is normal in impeachment proceedings. In fact, in other countries, you will hear the counsels and the participants in the impeachment trial speaking about what really happened and their take on the matter. Diba? Even their take on the actions of the senator judges themselves. Para nagiging masyadong balat sibuyas itong impeachment court. And para bang ayaw nilang pag-usapan sila. Pinag-uusapan sila. At dapat yung mga abogado dun sa partido, pwede rin sabihin kung anong mga tingin nilang mali at tama dun sa proseso before the public, not just in the court, but also before the public. Because again, the difference between impeachment proceedings and ordinary trial, ordinary criminal proceedings, is that the public is a participant here. And in fact, hindi lang yung respondent ng under trial. Under trial, the impeachment court itself. That is always the essence of an impeachment court. Diba? Kaya nga siya sui generis, a class of its own. Hindi mo kailangan maging abogado. Hindi kailangan overly judicialize itong mga bagay-bagay na ito. At again, walang right to office si Sara Duterte. Hindi niya karapatang manatili sa opisina as opposed to the individual right to liberty that is being compromised in criminal proceedings.
Well, attorney, on the usage of inflammatory words, no, how can the defense guide their client, especially she tends to, talk about the trial? There was a time pa nga when she attacked the impeachment court itself. And then I think the question should be, can the defense guide their client, or do you think that the VP can be guided at all on this matter?
Masyado yatang mahirap yung binibigay mong sa defense. Mahirap na kahit trabaho nilang depensa si Sara Duterte, yung patahimigin pa kaya siya. Nagmura-mura yan sa national TV, tandaan natin. Threatened the president, the vice president, and the speaker of the house. I don't think anyone can control Sara Duterte. No, and that's the point. No, it could have been the impeachment court showing them that the process works, showing everyone that they are not afraid of Sara Duterte. Actually setting a precedent that the parties must respect the impeachment court, including the respondent herself. Pero the impeachment court, the High Court of Impeachment in this particular instance, shows to be mum and silent, despite the fact that the Vice President has attacked the impeachment court numerous times, no? And merong mga kinote doon na mga statements ng prosecution, pero walang kinote na statements si Sara Duterte, despite the fact that she is a respondent in this case and Rule 18 applies to her, no? So para sa akin palagay, no, para bang naging double standard at hindi ready i-confront yung impeachment court si Sara Duterte na binabastos yung buong proseso. Hindi nga nagpapakita eh. Diba? Tapos babastusin pa kung ano-ano mga statement yung sasabihin. And then the impeachment court chose to be mum and silent about it and instead quote certain things that the prosecution is doing na hindi naman ganun ka-inflammatory as compared to the language always being used by Sara Duterte and her followers.
Dagdag ko lang yung even the senator judges, wala din siyang sinabi about it. Well, he reminded that the senator judges should be impartial in the course of the trial. Pero hindi din naman niya binanggit about the splice video, for example.
Hindi sinabi, hindi man lang kahit na without referring to anyone. Diba? Pero ang marami niyang kinote is yung mga supposedly nanggaling sa prosecutors. Ang sinabi lang, without quoting anyone. Pero hindi niya sinabi yung splice video ni Pia Cayetano. Hindi niya ni-remind kung para ba nag-aabogado na si Miriam Defensor Santiago, si Ivy Marcos at saka malayo sila ni Miriam Defensor Santiago, si Ivy Marcos at saka si Robin Padilla, no? I think yung mga general reminders na yun, I think mas sana naging in control yung presiding officer so that the impeachment process will be more credible. Ang para nangyari dito is mas maraming kinote against the prosecution, kukonti sa defense, hindi kinall out yung mga action ng Vice President na directly disparaging the impeachment court. And then at the same time, para bang sobrang light na paalala, gentle reminder doon sa mga colleagues niya sa Senado na sila ang merong ought to be impartial, lalong-lalo na si Pia Cayetano. And it's very improper. And in fact, we filed an ethics complaint against Pia Cayetano in relation to the matter. It's very proper for a judge, senator judge, to be engaging in spreading fake information, splicing videos, and it's as if she is engaged in a propaganda war against the prosecution. She is a judge. She is not just a politician in this particular instance, no. Pero you did not hear anything from Cheese Escudero. So in that level, while there is an attempt to try to put to order things, no, I thought that nagkulang pa rin in terms of being brave enough to call a spade a spade. And at the same time, I would have wanted him to be in full control as well of his colleagues in the Senate.
Per attorney, interestingly, even though Senator Cheese Escudero already warned the senator judges to be impartial, to stay impartial in this impeachment trial, you have Senator Judge Robin Padilla during his interjection somewhat justifying the use of aliases. Bringing up niya na kahit si late Senator Ninoy Aquino ay nagkaroon naman daw ng alias na Marshal Bonifacio, and he was even interrogating to an extent yung prosecutor, not even the witness. So what did you make of that?
Sabi ko sobrang improper na para bang yung prosecutor yung pinigrill. And that should not have been allowed by the presiding officer. Dapat tinanong lang na what is your position here. Hindi yung tinatanong siya na, alam mo ba may alias? Na para bang siya yung witness. That is very improper. Tapos yung sasagot na siya, pwede ba yun? Bawal. Tapos may parang irap pa na itsurang angas tong si Senator Judge Robin Padilla tapos lakad. And to begin with, hindi naman naging discussion yung use of alias in the testimony in that part of the proceedings. No? So, kitang-kita na unaware si Robin Padilla. Yung punto niya is logical. Tsaka kulang talaga sa parang hindi pinag-isipan ng mabuti yung mga statements. And then, nung magre-retort back yung prosecutor, ayaw. No? So, parang parang ito yung mga sinasabi natin na unbecoming of a senator judge. Very unbecoming of a senator judge. Pero, sabi ko nga, hindi na ko call out ng presiding officer. Dapat sinabi ng presiding officer, that's not covered by the discussion. And of course, the prosecutor is not a witness. It is improper for you to grill the prosecutor that way.
Well, moving over now to the merits of the case, Senator Tito Soto yesterday had one good question, no? A very important one. In the context of, we found out that, La Chica, or Colonel La Chica, is not officially employed in the office of the Vice President. So, on that context, allowed ba, o nakikita na natin talaga yung mali na ang isang security officer ay nag-disburse ng large amount of money na hindi naman siya, at nag-implement pa ng mga projects, no, na hindi naman siya officially employed?
Hindi lang yun. What are the facts? And this all came from the witnesses. The first one is Sara Duterte was the one who requested for confidential funds, including the 250 million pesos. Yung 250 million pesos na ni-request, wala man lang supporting documents kung saan gagamitin at kung para saan. Tapos, nung sinabi, para saan yan? 28 days after, pinakita yung supporting documents. Pero mga programa, hindi for the purpose of confidential operations. Yung mga substantiation niya para sa programa. Nung na-release, no, ang pinawithdraw niya sa utos niya, according kay Gina Acosta, ang nag-utos na mag-withdraw ng pera si Vice President Sara Duterte. Nung nilagay sa duffel bags at lumabas sila, no, si Sara Duterte rin ang nag-utos na ibigay kay Colonel La Chica. Sabi ni, di ba, ni Gina Acosta. Ang sabi rin, wala nang receive na ginawa. No? Parang normal na kalakaran. Tandaan natin, si Gina Acosta rin dati ang disbursing officer ni Sara Duterte pagdating sa confidential funds. No? Pagkatapos noon, or yung SDOs, Special Disbursing Officer, di ba? And then after that, hindi alam ng Chief of Staff niya, hindi alam ng Deputy Chief of Staff niya kung saan pinagamitan yun. Ang nakakaalam na si Colonel La Chica at saka si Sara Duterte. And si Colonel La Chica is not even an employee of the Office of the Vice President or Department of Education, and but the Armed Forces of the Philippines. But more importantly, he is not funded and he is not even authorized to be the disbursing officer. Binigay sa kanya wholesale yung pera. So sino lang nakakaalam kung saan punta yung pera? Si Sara Duterte at si Colonel La Chica. And si Colonel La Chica is not even authorized to handle such amounts of money and by the joint circular. No? So malinaw na malinaw, walang ibang escape route dito. Ang nakakaalam nito, si Sara Duterte, siya nag-utos, siya nag-request, siya ang nakakaalam kung paano confidential operations. And most importantly, sinertify niya, may pirma niya na lahat ng mga ito regular supposedly, despite the fact na sila dalawa lang Colonel La Chica ang nakakaalam, despite the fact na yung walang mga resibo afterwards, despite the fact na para bang kung ano-ano mga pangalan ang nilagay doon sa liquidation documents, despite the fact that ang pinambili, gamot at monoblock chairs, which is not supposed to be covered by confidential operations. Napakaraming mga anomalya dito sa paggasta na to, at tandaan natin, based on the joint circular, doon sa mga anomalya na ito, pag merong anomalya or hindi tama ang pagkadokumento, ang presumption ng batas binulsa or used for the personal benefit of the accountable person, which ultimately is the head of agency in this particular case.
So attorney, for you, nabuo na po ba ng prosecution yung picture dito sa misuse of confidential funds or may kulang pa po? Dapat po ba tawagin pa po nila si Colonel Raymond La Chica?
Sa akin, kahit na sa criminal case, tandaan natin hindi itong criminal case, hindi kailangan proof beyond reasonable doubt. Pero sa akin palagay, malinaw na yung accountability at yung flow ng money. No? Just follow the money. And they have a lot of explaining to do, and their liquidation documents do not add up. No? So sa akin, malinaw na even for proof beyond reasonable doubt. Pero dito, fitness to remain in office lang eh. And it is very clear na minishandle yung pera ng taong bayan, no? Carelessly, negligently handled, which renders Sara Duterte unfit to remain in office. Yung palang sufficient na eh. Pero in terms of yung presumption na binulsa, hindi pa rin nila na-overcome. Eh, no? Pero sa aking palagay, no, pwede pa naman ipatawag sila chika kasi makikita mo naman kung nagsisinungaling, kung kaya niyang i-explain talaga kung saan nila yung pera, so be it, at kung inutusan pa naman talaga siya ni Sara Duterte. Because for all we know, Colonel Chicken can go to the witness stand and say, hindi ko tinanggap yung pera. Ano mangyayari? Eh wala naman silang pinireceive at wala silang any evidence na talagang siya tumanggap ng pera. This is very irregular. No? Pabibigyan mo ng 125 million, 250 million, iaabot mo, tapos wala ka man lang pinareceive. Eh napakalit niya ng mga halaga sa atin pagka may utang or pagka may pinahawak sa ating pera, pinapareceive sa atin, kahit man voucher yan, pero wala silang papakita. No? Tandaan natin na meron pang possibility na i-present din si Madriaga kung saan daw iba pang pinamutbot ng pera. No? So sa akin palagay, wala namang masama na i-present yung mga yun, pero kahit na hindi na, as of the moment, in the interest of moving on to the next articles of impeachment and conserving the time, energy, and effort and resources of the impeachment court, more than sufficient na yung ebidensya ngayon. Sa akin palagay, pag sinabi mo, ebidensya, malinaw eh. May presumption, malinaw, mali pagka-liquidate, malinaw, hindi dapat pinagbigyan ng pera yung mga pinagbigyan ng pera, malinaw, utos lahat ito ni Sara Duterte, hindi niya pwede maging scapegoat yung mas mababa sa kanya dahil hindi man lang nila alam kung saan ginasta, inutusan lang sila mag-withdraw at iabot lahat ng pera kay Colonel Lachica, who's not a bandit person, not authorized to receive money, and at the same time, not even an employee of the Office of the Vice President nor the Department of Education.
Attorney, one final question before we let you go, because Senator Mig Zubir yesterday raised also an issue. He was asking if the Senate impeachment court can possibly ask COA to issue their final ruling on the notice of disallowance. Pero kasi sinabi nga ni Senator Chis Escudero, COA is an independent body, we cannot compel them. Pero ang ano dito kasi ang issue dito, let's clarify po muna, because yung isang confidential fund sa meron pong notice of disallowance, which is the 73.2 million, was already final and executory. Tama po ba? Kasi nagkaroon na po yun ng ruling ng COA, and if the defense would go to Supreme Court, it is only to file a petition for certiorari. Tama po ba yun? So, kumbaga kung let's say for example, yung 375 million na inaantay po nila na may appeal pa supposedly ang defense at mag-rule po kunyari ang COA doon na okay na pala, naayos pala yun, meron pang 73.2 million na yun talaga po ay final na.
Sa akin nga po, yes. Most probably nag-exercise na ng remedy sila sa Duterte sa Supreme Court. But again, that is only for purposes of ascertaining whether there's grave abuse of discretion. Yung appeal nila at yung motion for reconsideration nila, nakita na yan sa COA itself at yun yung opportunity and body to do the appeal and to do a motion for reconsideration. Yung Supreme Court, only for purposes of assessing yung grave abuse of discretion, etc. No? So, tama ka, no? As of the moment, final. Pero hindi pa yung executory, tsaka hindi pa yung magbabayad kasi sabihin nila. Eh, avail kami ng remedy sa Supreme Court.
All right, and on that note, thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insights with us. Buti nakakausap pa natin si Attorney Dino, no? Kasi from now on, maghihigpit na rin yung mga spokespersons.
Sa mga lawyers.
Hindi naman ako spokesperson, hindi rin ako lawyer.
Ayan.
No? And precisely why, no? Of course, kinonsider rin naman natin whether or not we're gonna volunteer for the prosecution. Pero sabi natin, baka iba yung ating role, no? And that is to directly engage the public as well. And join the conversation on how the proceedings is supposed to be without any undue concern.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That was Attorney Dino De Leon. Now, don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss. After this quick break, keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Pasig Representative and House Basic Education Committee Chair Roman Romulo is pushing for tighter regulation of social media and online gaming platforms to protect children. In an interview with One News's Political Beat, Romulo said that under the proposal, children below 13 would be banned from the platforms, while those aged 14 to 17 would face restrictions on their use. The restrictions would include blocking harmful content and limiting features such as short-form videos, scrolling, and chat functions. Romulo also wants platforms to establish a physical presence in the Philippines to help authorities enforce the rules.
Under the proposed measure, yung dinadraft natin ngayon, may exceptions. And yung exceptions doon really would be yung educational tools provided na those are supervised by the school authorities themselves. So, papayagan pa rin natin yun. Kasi if it's a tool for homework, for being able to make announcements, pero lahat yun, dapat under the supervision of the school, hindi naman pwede, katulad sa gaming. Sa gaming ang talagang feature that we are banning will be yung chat groups or if you're able to communicate. Yun sinasabi natin, yun yung dapat bawal. Yun yung feature na hindi natin papayagan under the proposed bill. Kung the moment meron kasing chat groups, alam naman natin, 'di ba? Sinabi naman ng experts ng mga psychologists that ang bata naman talaga yung cognitive development niya ay nagde-develop pa.
Yeah.
So talagang kailangan ng guidance. So medyo malleable pa siya at this point in time. So doon pag may chat groups, doon ang kung hindi properly guided and guarded, doon talaga may posible na contributory factor. O kasi hindi naman natin pwede sabihin talaga na online lang at saka yung social media platforms solely yung are to blame. Marami talagang contributory factors.
The House of Representatives continues its 2027 budget deliberations with the Departments of the Interior and Local Government and Education now facing lawmakers. For the details, we're joined live by mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Amy, go ahead.
Yes, good morning, Angela. Ngayon nga ang ika-4 na araw ng House Committee on Appropriations para talakayin ang 2027 national budget. And initially, dapat ay mapapakinggan din natin yung budget deliberations for the Office of the President earlier today at around 9 a.m. But it was eventually canceled. So now we are proceeding with the Department of Interior and Local Government later on today. At doon sa nakapaloob sa 2027 NEP, nasa around 332.5 billion pesos yung proposed budget for DILG. At ang may pinakamalaking share daw dito ay ang Philippine National Police amounting to 242 billion pesos. Titingnan natin, Angela, kung ano pa nga ba yung matatalakay dito, ano ba yung mga priority programs din na meron ng DILG for 2027. And aside from DILG, asahan din natin na mapapag-usapan din yung budget ng Commission on Higher Education later on today at around 11 a.m. Pero Angela, maibahagi ko na lang din yung nangyari din kahapon sa budget deliberations. Technically, naging mahaba yung diskusyon ng budget ng DPWH kahapon kung saan nga nagsimula ito at around 9:30 in the morning natapos ng around 7:30 in the evening. At yung isa nga sa pinaka-highlight dito ay yung pagbabawas mismo ng 2025 ay nasa around 22,000 to 25,000 yung flood control projects. Ngayon ay layo ng bawasan nga ng DPWH yung budget for flood control. At ang inaasahan na lang din natin ay yung constant coordination nila with the local government unit as well as Project NOAA para mabigay nga yung needs-based na flood control projects sa iba't ibang lalawigan dito sa ating bansa. Angela?
Well, Amy, Department of Education is pushing for a dedicated budget for school safety. This means additional CCTVs for campuses and then hiring more counselors and guards other than relying on regular operational expenses. Is this something that the DepEd has already discussed dyan sa budget deliberation? And ano ang naging tugon ng lawmakers dyan? Will they support it?
Well, so far, kung budget ng Department of Education ang pag-uusapan, no, Angela, maririnig pa natin yan in the next few days kasi ngayon nasa higher education yung focus. Pero nung napakinggan din natin no, yung ilan sa mga pagdinig dito mismo sa Kamara, supportive ang mga mambabatas doon nga sa pagtataas no, ng security measures pagdating sa mga eskwelahan. Actually, nung isang particular hearing dito sa Kamara ay naging usapin yung metal detectors sa schools, yung paglalagay ng metal detectors sa public schools. At isa yan sa mga tinitingnan pang reforma at panukala no, ng ilang mga mambabatas dito mismo sa House of Representatives para nga ma-ensure yung seguridad ng bawat mag-aaral. At dito pa rin no, sa DILG, most likely, Angela, mapapakinggan din natin no, yung crime prevention measures na merong na meron ang DILG para nga sa susunod na taon.
Alright, thank you so much, mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Now stay tuned. Morning Matters returns after a quick break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Leptospirosis cases nationwide have risen to 4,285 as of August 22, an increase of 845 cases in just 2 weeks. Those cases were recorded in Metro Manila, Cagayan Valley, and Central Luzon, with health officials warning that cases could continue to rise. In Manila, 5 people have died of leptospirosis at San Lazaro Hospital, which has reached full bed capacity for patients with the disease. Health experts are urging people who have been exposed to floodwaters to seek medical attention immediately.
Now, health authorities are cautioning the public about wild illnesses, including waterborne diseases, influenza-like illnesses, leptospirosis, and dengue amid the rainy season. To discuss how the public can protect themselves, we have lifestyle medicine specialist Dr. Dex Macalintal with us via Zoom. Good morning, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning sa inyong dalawa. Kamusta na kayo?
Well, of course, the cases of or the case of leptospirosis here in the Philippines is very alarming. But among wild illnesses, which ones are you most concerned about right now and why?
Well, pare-pareho naman. No? So as a family medicine doctor or as community doctor, kinakailangan alam natin yung lahat. No? So we are also concerned of number one, yung ating leptospirosis nga. But we're also concerned of waterborne diseases. Say for example, your gastroenteritis, your cholera, your typhoid, and also your dengue. No, so kasi tandaan natin that even though the rain has already ended, no, but the water recedes, the danger does not end with that. No? Kinakailangan malaman natin na may mga puddles pa rin po, na meron pa rin po tayo mga stagnant waters, na ito yung maaari maging breeding grounds ng ating mga lamok. And dito pa naman sa Pilipinas, naninirahan pa rin tayo sa taob-taktak pa rin, no? Pero hindi pa rin meron pa rin tayong pagkukulang sa ating mga preventive measures. So maraming dahilan ng pagkakasakit ng mga tao sa ngayon, lalo na at nagkakaroon ng mga flooding, no? Pero hindi natin maaalis yung pangamba ng ating mga health authorities talaga kasi ito nga tumataas nga yung mga kaso.
Doc Dex, when it comes to leptospirosis, marami ka din kasing misconception dyan, ano? Yung iba sinasabi, basta may sugat ka, wag ka pumunta sa baha, ano? Pero help us understand, ano ba yung mga common misconceptions at ano yung tama about leptospirosis?
Okay, common misconceptions ay kapag lumusok ka sa baha, magkaka-leptospirosis ka na agad. Hindi naman agad-agad, no? Kung meron kayong mga sugat, no, kung meron kayong mga gasgas, no, however, hindi agad-agad kasi, no, yung lahat kasi ng mga, hindi naman kasi lahat ng daga ay kontaminado ng leptospirosis. However, the problem is hindi mo naman alam kung ano yung infected na hayop. Sa Pilipinas, medyo mayaman tayo sa mga bacteria kasi medyo malinis, medyo hindi tayo masyadong malinis, no? Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga ganito. So, ang misconception dito is, okay, wala akong nararamdaman, hindi ko na kinakailangan magpa-prophylaxis. kinakailangan nyo po magpa-prophylaxis kasi nga ang problema natin ay medyo may karumihan po yung mga tubig, no, na nakukuha natin lalo na kapag nagbabaka, no? And then meron tayong mga sintomas na lumalabas around mga 5 to 14 days pagkatapos lumusong sa baha, no? So hindi porke lumusong ka sa baha ngayon tapos wala ka nararamdaman bukas, no, ay hindi kayo magpapa-prophylaxis. Kasi maaari yung sintomas mga 5 to 14 days pa bago lumabas yan. So, ang kinakailangan, bantayan nyo din po yung mga sintomas. Halimbawa, mataas na paglagnat, no, pagkakaroon kayo ng mga chills, magkakaroon ng mga pananakit ng ulo, no, pamumula ng mata ninyo, and then yung pananakit ng mga kalamnan or mga joints natin, lalo sa mga binti natin. Kasi hindi agad-agad lumalabas yung mga sintomas na to.
Well, I understand that leptospirosis, Doc Dex, can be fatal, but it can be prevented. So I was
Yes.
wondering what happened, diba? Kasi right now, we have increased number of death, no, due to leptospirosis. What happened there? And of course, maybe you can tell us also what are the warning signs? Kasi medyo madaya eh. Yung first few days ng kapag may leptospirosis ka, flu-like symptoms eh. So hindi mo alam kung trangkaso lang ba to o may leptospirosis na ako.
Well, yun nga, sabi nga natin, hindi porke walang ibang nararamdaman. Kunyari, lagnat lang yung nararamdaman ninyo, ay pagsasawalang bahala ninyo. Kasi marami po talagang causes ang pagkakaroon ng lagnat. No? So we have to find that, yung tinatawag natin na source. No? So kapag ka po may lagnat ang isang pasyente na nadadala sa emergency room o dinadala po sa mga klinika namin, hinahanapan po natin ng source yung fever. Kasi hindi porke okay para lang siyang lagnat laki o yung mga trangkaso lamang natin sasawalang bahala ninyo kasi sanay tayo na nagkakaroon tayo ng lagnat. So yung pagkakaroon po ng kasamahan na pumumula ng mata, no, pagkakaroon po ng pananakit ng kalamnan, no, at saka yun nga po nga pag yung minsan, no, mas lalo na yung kapag naninilaw na, no. So pinakamainam, dalhin po agad yan sa pinakamalapit na ospital o pinakamalapit na medical facility para ma-evaluate natin. At kung meron kasi po talaga na history ng wading in flood water, no, so kinakailangan po talaga mabigyan tayo ng kagamutan dito. And then ito nga, no, so sabi nga natin, kung hindi kasi maaagapan ng leptospirosis, maaaring lumala at magkaroon tayo na tinatawag na whale disease o yung tinatawag natin na paghina rin po ng atay at pagkasira po ng bato. Ito yung medyo hindi agad na pag hindi agad na agapan, ito yung medyo nakamamatay kapag hindi agad nagagamot. So kaya kinakailangan kapag may kaunting nararamdaman, lalo at merong glaring history ang pasyente na nag-wade in floodwater, dalhin po agad sa pinakamalapit na medical facility.
So Doc Dex, para dun sa mga walang choice, walang choice kundi lumusong sa baha kasi hindi gumagana yung mga flood control project natin, ano po ba dapat gawin nila? Where should they go to get this prophylaxis, yung doxycycline, di ba? Kasi baka yung concern ng iba, mahal yan, gagastos pa ako. So is this medicine free? Where can they get it?
Sa mga health centers, no, kadalasan meron naman po ito. Hanggat sa makakaya naman nating gobyerno, binibigay naman ito. Pero ang hiling ko lamang din sa gobyerno natin ay sana wag mawalan ng stocks ng doxycycline, lalo sa mga lugar na bahain talaga at kinakailangan ng tulong ng ating mga kababayan. So, isa pang misconception kasi is yun nga, sabi nila na safe ako kasi lumusong siya na wala namang sugat sa paa. Hindi ganoon. Kasi hindi lang po kasi sa mga malalaking sugat pumapasok yung leptospirosis na bacteria, no? So kasi pwede siyang pumasok sa mga scratches lang, no, na hindi napapansin. O kaya naman pwede kunyari kasi di ba nakikita natin yung mga kababayan natin ngayon, lumulusong sila na parang nagda-die.
Sumisisid.
No? So, sumisisid sila, no? So yung mata po natin, yung ilong natin, yung bibig natin, no, pwede rin kasi na kapag napasukan niya ng kontaminadong tubig, pwede din pumasok, no? Kahit gaano kakinis ang binti mo, no, kung lumusong ka sa baha, at risk ka pa rin, kapatid.
Walang pinipili.
Walang pinipili.
Pero Doc, I was wondering, talking about doxycycline, does doxycycline interfere with other medicines? Kasi let's say, for example, yung people with comorbidity, sila yung na-expose sa baha at kailangan mag-take nitong doxycycline. Does it interfere with other meds?
Nawawala ka dito.
No,
Yung doxycycline.
Yung doxycycline ba, does it interfere with other medicines? Like for example, yung mga tao na may comorbidities, ay sila po ay na-expose sa baha at kailangan nila mag-take nga nitong doxycycline na ito. Does it interfere with their medicines?
Kuwari may
Okay.
high blood, they're taking
Oo.
hypertension
Sige.
medicines.
Okay, sige. Kunyari, may mga kadalasan kasi kapag may mga high blood tayo, no, minsan naka-blood thinners din, no. So, yung doxycycline, no, yung problema naman dito kasi is maaaring magpataas din to ng risk ng pagdurugo kung halimbawa naka-warfarin po kayo, no. So, kumbaga yung pinapalab na po pwede. Pero kasi, no, kaya ang ginagawa diyan ay ina-adjust naman yung dose ng inyong mga doktor. No, halimbawa din yung mga antacids natin, no, yung mga minerals na yung mga calcium, iron, magnesium and zinc, no, nagbabind siya dun sa doxycycline kaya hindi na-absorb maayos ng katawan. Nawawala yung bisa ng antibiotic dito. So, ang ginagawa is sina-space out natin. So, hindi sinasabay yung doxycycline sa gata, sa kape, sa vitamins, o kahit na mga gamot na sa pangangasim ng sikmura. No? So, usually, makalipas yung 2 oras no, bago o pagkatapos uminom ng antibiotic yung binibigay. And then, say for example, mga naka-OCPs o yung mga naka-birth control pills natin, maaaring magpababa ng bahagya ng bisa no, ng birth control pills na po pwede magdulot ng unplanned pregnancy. So, sa mga kababaihan gumagamit ng pills natin, gumamit muna po ng backup protection no habang kayo po ay umiinom ng doxycycline. No, so may ilang ganon pero hindi naman agad-agad. So kaya actually kasi ganito 'yan. So for example, yung sa mga naka-blood thinners, no. So isa-space out natin and then ina-adjust natin yung dose. So kasi tandaan natin that the benefits of using this one outweighs the risks. Say for example,
Yes.
no, yung sasabihin natin, ay, may sakit ako sa puso or meron akong maintenance, hindi ako iinom niyan. Pero hindi ka nga uminom, no? Nailigtas mo nga yung sarili mo doon sa konting bleeding, no? Na bagay na po pwede naman nating ma-prevent. Pero ang kwento naman ay nagkaroon ka naman ng hepatorenal syndrome o yung Whale disease na maaari mong ikamatay. Mas maganda na nag-take ka nito at inayos lamang natin yung dose. That's why we don't allow self-medications. No? So hindi po kami basta-basta po pwedeng magsabi na, o hindi kayo po pwedeng magsabi na, ay, kailangan ko niyan, bigyan mo ako niyan, bigyan mo na ako ng marami niyan kasi lagi akong lumulusong sa baha. So hindi ganon. No? Kasi kinakailangan maabisuhan po kayo ng inyong mga doktor kung ano po ba ang dapat na pag-inom ng inyong mga doxycycline.
So at the end of the day, kailangan din talaga mag-consult agad, Doc, ano? Madali lang naman yan. Pwede naman sila mag-message kay Doc Dex sa social media. I'm sure sasagot po kayo.
Facebook page yan.
Kaagad, oo. Ay, Doc Dex, can you hear us okay? Medyo nawawala po ba yung connection? Ayan.
Yes, nawawala kayo.
Okay,
Yeah,
sige, we'll try this again, ano. Pero Doc, gusto ko rin po tanungin yung sa dengue kasi uso rin po yan ngayong panahon ng tag-ulan. So meron ding mga misconception pagdating sa dengue, kala nila yung breeding ground niyan sa mga maduduming tubig lang. Pero tama po ba na kahit sa mga malilinis na surroundings, pwede rin po yan gawing bahay ng mga lamok na contaminated na may dengue?
Sorry, nawawala talaga tayo. Hello?
Doc,
That again.
Sige,
Can you
dengue,
hear us now?
pag-usapan naman po natin yung misconceptions dyan. Totoo po ba na sa maduduming tubig lamang nagiging breeding ground, magiging breeding ground sila ng mga lamok na may dengue?
Okay. Katunayan, no, pwede rin talaga na maging breeding ground, no, yung malinis na tubig. So madalas isipin kasi ng mga tao na yung mga maruruming kanal lang, yung may mga burak lang diyan nangingitlog yung mga lamok na mayroong dengue. Ang totoo, no, yung mga ordinary na lamok naroon din po, no, yung mga Aedes aegypti natin tinuturing na kahit saan, no, pwede talaga silang mangitlog. So nangingitlog ang dengue mosquito sa mga lugar kung saan naiipon ang malilinis na tubig ulan pagkatapos ng bagyo o ng baha, no. So tandaan natin na yung lamok na mayroong dalang dengue, no, hindi sila basta lamang sa maruruming kanal o sa burak lamang nangingitlog, no. Pwede rin sila mangitlog sa mga malilinaw at naiiwang tubig sa paligid ng bahay. So sa labas, no, yung mga gulong, yung mga lumang gulong, yung mga tires natin, yes, diyan po papasok yung pagkakaroon din ng mga breeding grounds natin, no. So ang mabisa na solusyon ay ang alisin ang pinamumugaran ng mga lamok na to o yung mga itlog o yung mga kitikiti, no. So kaya pagkatapos ng pag-ulan o pagbaha, no, umikot kayo sa loob at sa labas ng bahay ninyo, itapon po ninyo yung mga naipong tubig tama naman yung itaob yung balde, no, kuskusin yung mga gilid ng mga flower vases nyo kasi po pwedeng kumapit yung itlog at ng labok sa gilid nito. So pero tandaan natin ano na lagi sinasabi na taob-taktak lang tayo. Pero marami pang mga measures ang pinupush ng WHO pagdating dito. Hindi lang basta destroy the breeding grounds. Yes, vector control is one, but we need actually a multi-pronged approach when it comes to dengue.
Doc, balik lang ako ng konti sa leptospirosis. Mamaya balikan
Okay,
din kita
sige,
sa
sige,
dengue.
tayo.
Pero itanong ko
Sige.
lang to kasi naalala ko nga, lagi natin pinag-uusapan yung sa leptospirosis kapag na-expose ka sa baha. What about the people who are, exposed to baha talaga all year long, 'di ba? Kumbaga, like for example, the communities that are inundated with floodwaters in Hagonoy, Bulacan, in Kalumpit, Bulacan. Kahit summer dyan, baha dyan eh. I mean, may mga level of floodwater yan na talagang sinusuong nila. Wala silang choice. So, anong po pwede nilang gawin? So, every day, how often times can they take doxycycline? Ano yung doon? Ano yung proseso para sa kanila? Ano yung
So,
SOP?
Okay, so dyan papasok yung SOP. Wala tayong SOP sa wala tayong SOP.
Yun na nga eh, di ba? Oh.
Yun, so
Kawawa
wala
naman.
kawawa naman tayo mga wala tayong SOP. No? So anyway, yung high risk prophylaxis protocol natin. No? So, ayon po sa clinical guidelines, kung continuous o tuloy-tuloy ang exposure sa pagbaha, no, ang recommendation ay ang pag-inom pa rin po ng doxycycline isang beses kahit once a week hanggang sa matapos yung panahon ng kanila exposure. No, pero yung
Hindi nga
limitation
natatapos
dito,
yung panahon,
hindi nga
no?
natatapos eh. Yun nga eh. So hindi maaaring inumin naman yung doxycycline ng buong taon bilang maintenance. No? Kasi po pwedeng magdulot din to ng antibiotic resistance kung saan hindi natatalab yung gamot kapag nagkakasakit na talaga yung pasyente. Po pwede ring makasira ito sa normal flora ng ating bacteria at maging sanhi din ng hyperacidity. So ano yung solusyon? So dahil hindi sustainable yung uminom ng gamot ng habang buhay, ang primary health goal po para sa mga taong ito ay ang maputol ang source of infection sana. So, ang action plan natin dyan is personal protective equipment, no, para sa mga hindi maiwasan lumusong, yung long rubber boots po pwedeng makatulong ito hanggang sa hita sana, no, para na sa ganun mabisa yung protection natin. Kung walang bota at kinakailangan pong lumusong, balutin po ng maayos ng waterproof plastic yung mga paa at mga binti, bagamat hindi ito 100% foolproof. No, so and then pest and waste control, no. So ang ugat po ng problema talaga dito ay yung mga daga at ang basura. Ang paglilinis po ng kapaligiran upang mawalan ang tirahan ng mga pagkain ng mga daga, no. Ito po yung long-term solution. So tandaan natin, kung alam nating laging baha sa ating lugar, ang pinakamagandang investment ay hindi gamot, no. Bota po pwede na, at sa level ng community po, no, as a family and community medicine doctor, hangga't may tambak ng basura, maaring may daga. At hangga't may daga, narariyan po ang banta ng leptospirosis. So, ang kinakailangan natin gawin dito talaga is a whole of government approach din talaga eh. So, babalik pa rin tayo dun sa flood control na may mga buti pa sila, may mga SOP. Kaya nilalagyan din natin to ng tamang SOP sa komunidad. No? So, maglinis po tayo. Hindi po pwedeng iasa lang natin sa gobyerno, no, na nagagalingan nila. So kahit tayo muna po yung maging magaling sa panahon na to at ayusin po natin yung ating kapaligiran kasi this is as much as we can do for now. So konting tiis mga kababayan, we really hope that help is coming na maging maayos na po yung mundo natin, yung ating bayan.
Oo, Dok, kasi nasa atin na naman yung burden. Tayo na naman mag-a-adjust, tayo maghahanap ng solusyon dito, tayo yung magsusot ng bota, di ba? Pero dapat sila yung nag-a-act kasi sasabihin na naman, itong mga Pilipino, napaka-resilient. Sasabihin na lang nila, hindi, ang galing nyo, resilient naman kayo dyan.
Pwede ba ilipat yung baha dun sa bahay nila?
Yun na nga. Alam mo yun yung medyo nakakasakit ng loob kasi tayo, yes, we are resilient, pero ginagamit itong mga politikong ito yung pagiging resilient ng mga Pilipino na magkaroon ng okay, sige, resilient naman sila, magnakaw pa tayo, gawin pa natin to. Hindi dapat ganoon eh. Dapat tayo ngayon tandaan natin that even though this is health, no? Ako po bilang doktor, no? Nakikita natin yung epekto sa mga kababayan natin health-wise eh. So, tandaan po natin na yung health ay meron po tayong social determinants din yan. At kasama po dyan ang poverty and politics. So, kaya I implored, no, so yung lahat ng mga nanonood sa atin, yung mga kapatid natin nanonood sa atin ngayon dito sa One News, dito sa Morning Matters, at sa lahat ng mga shows natin sa TV5, One News, One PH. Bumoto po kayo ng mabuti. Bumoto po kayo ng maayos. Actually, dumating na sa punto, alam mo Angela,
Vote
Pawi,
Doc Dex.
dumating na sa punto, no, dumating na sa punto na sa ER minsan, no, sa sobrang dami ng problema ngayon. Sa ER nung dito duty ako, sa sobrang hirap ng dinadanas natin doon. No, at nakikita natin yung hirap ng mga Pilipino, bunsod nga nito mga flood control projects, bunsod ng korupsyon. Natatanong na namin, sino po bang binoto ninyong mga senador at mga kongresista dito sa lugar na to? So, dumating na kami sa ganun.
Oo. Kasi kumbaga red alert na ang mga ospital, especially in Manila. Ibig sabihin, nagkakaubusan na talaga ng mga kama, 'di ba, para sa mga pasyente. Pero kung ikaw ay may comorbidity, 'di ba? Ikaw ba ay mas madaling matamaan ng leptospirosis?
Walang pinipili ang leptospirosis, comorbids man o wala, basta't kayo po ay definitely, no, na yung may mga comorbidities, mas maraming po pwedeng complications, no. Pero I don't want the people to have a misconception na kapag may comorbidity ka lang matatamaan, no. So kasi sa age ng social media, we're live on Facebook. Sa age ng social media, kapag ka sinabi mong okay, ito yung mas mataas yung chance, nakikita nila na kapag wala kang ganitong sakit ay hindi ka na magkakaroon. So
Mas malakas ako, ganun.
yes, so this is the problem of absolutes. So kaya lagi natin sinasabi, hindi porke malakas-lakas ang immune system mo sa ngayon ay okay na yan. Pwedeng mag-falter yan anytime, no? Magkaroon ka lang ng konting problema, pwedeng magkaroon yan ng residual effects in the long run, at pwede kayong tamaan ng kahit na anumang infectious diseases. Dahil walang pinipili ang ganito. Basta't may sugat, no? Basta't konting scratch, and even yun nga sa mata, sa ilong, sa bibig, pwede.
Pero Doc Dex, aside from wild illnesses ngayong panahon ng tagulan, bilang kayo po ay isang lifestyle medicine specialist, gusto ko na rin po kayo tanungin, ano ba yung number one illness o disease na dapat maalarma tayong mga Pilipino dahil tumataas na yung cases niyan?
Well, nandiyan pa rin, no, ang cause ng masaming pagkamatay ng mga tao, heart diseases. No, so naririyan pa rin ang heart disease, no, kahit po tumataas ang mga infectious diseases natin, naririyan pa rin pong mga chronic diseases natin, yung inyong mga sakit sa puso, diabetes, and even obesity, kidney diseases, yung mga ganyan. No, so lahat ng mga chronic degenerative lifestyle diseases tumataas pa rin po. Naririyan pa rin po. Hindi porke umuulan ang bibigyan lang natin ng highlight ay ang wild diseases, no? Pero naririyan pa rin po ang mga chronic lifestyle related diseases na maaaring maging comorbidity ninyo sa pagkakaroon nitong mga sakit na to. At kapag nagkaroon kayo ng mga sakit nito, problema din. So, yun, kidney diseases, no? Tandaan natin yung leptospirosis pwedeng maging hepatorenal syndrome yan, o yung whale disease. So, kapag may tama din po yung bato ninyo at nagkaroon ka ng leptospirosis, mas malala, no? Yung po pwedeng tamaan nito. Yung po pwedeng itama dito sa inyo.
Naku, marami pa po sana kaming tanong para sa iyo, Doc Dex, but we've run out of time. So thank you very much as always for sharing your insights with us. That was lifestyle medicine specialist, Dr. Dex Macalintal.
Thank you. All right, and that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we have given you just the right start to your morning. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Berzosa, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Kapatid, we're One News.
Your side all the time.